Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Oops, what do we have here? I think this is a situation where you have a deer caught in the flashlight or the headlights. That is like, oh, that's what it is here with, it seems like American and German in this case and British weapons provided to Ukraine. I think these guys are caught with their pants down taking a shit in the woods. Why? Because this war in Ukraine puts the NATO, the US, the British, the German technology, which I thought it was better than that, the quality of their weapons, they put these things at the test against an army, a military, that has the capability to fuck them up as well. So NATO is not fighting right now Libya or Iraq or I don't know, Afghanistan. It's fighting some, I would say, first-class military, like they are. And it seems like their misgivings are showing in a very concerning way. What am I talking about? Do you know one of the reasons why supposedly the F-16s were not sent to Ukraine? Yes, it was because of the Ukrainians did not have clean surfaces on their airfields. Not long enough. The temperature was a little bit too hot in Ukraine. The wind was blowing too hard and was raining. The last three reasons I put them on, but the first two are real. The airfields were too short and they were not clean. So the weak or the sensitive, fragile landing gear of the F-16s could not operate. Well, I thought that anything that's military grade is really heavy duty, hardcore thing. No, if you send a weapon somewhere in a war, you send that weapon with the intention of killing and being reliable. That was the first one. The second one was the fact that these guys started complaining about the, what was that, the French tank, wheeled tank, that is not good. Obviously it's not good. That tank is from 1960s or something. Old shit. F-16s are from 1976, so they're old as well. And then we have Challenger 2. I covered that yesterday I covered an article where they said the Challenger 2 should be used only in certain situations, not risky operations, not this, not that. What is that? Challenger 2. Again, don't use it when it's raining or it's too windy because they're not performing very well. And now we have Leopard 2. You know, Leopard 2 tanks, the German fantastic tanks, the most advanced besides the Abrams, that these guys are like, we're not going to send the Abrams. We're afraid that they will be blown up and nobody will buy them after that. Why? Because before, whenever they had something that were fought against countries with a depleted army, old rusty army and equipment. This is a different story. So they're afraid to do it. Why? Because their whole aura of, my God, Patriot systems were not blown up. First attempt, first blown up. Oh no, we didn't blow up, just scratch it a little bit. Again, that's another one. No HIMARS was blown up yet. So what's happening here? Leopard tanks, if you remember, was blown up, about 16, I think. 16 were blown up at the beginning of the offensive. That occurred, started 3 weeks ago, the Ukrainian offensive. And now, reportedly, that's the word, reportedly, the Ukrainians took out the Leopard 2 out of the conflict zone. They put them to the side because they say, I don't think we are able to use them. Why? Not that good. Against what? Now they're not good, but not good against first-class military. They say, well, it's depleted, it's the Russians. Well, just stay here, don't go to the war. Use Russian tanks or Soviet tanks. So Sputnik, this is from today, the 9th of July 2023. Ukraine reportedly pulls Leopard 2s, Leopard 2s from front, low on armor, ammo, or as offensive stalls. All right, so let's see what's going on. The US announced Friday that it would be rushing controversial cluster munitions to Ukraine to help shore up Kiev's flagging counteroffensive, which began a month ago but has run up against stiff resistance from Russian forces backed by heavy artillery and air support. The Ukrainian military doesn't have enough tanks, armored vehicles, or ammo to overrun heavily entrenched Russian positions, has pulled its vaunted Leopard 2s from the front line and is looking to ramp up domestic tank production. Domestic tank production meaning Soviet production. A process that will take up to 6 months, US business media have reported, citing senior Ukrainian officials and frontline commanders. And I'm quoting, "It's impossible to completely destroy such a well-prepared position before advancing," end quote. A unit commander from Ukraine's 108th Brigade said of Russian entrenchments, telling US media that Ukrainian forces are suffering a shortage of armored vehicles with infantry forces to advance on foot, which makes them vulnerable to flanking maneuvers. And I'm quoting, "If we had more vehicles, we could have brought more infantry to the flanks," the commander said, admitting that a month after the counteroffensive began, he had yet to take part in an operation that successfully captured and held a defended Russian position. Instead, Ukrainian forces have so far only been able to capture a quote-unquote handful of villages. So they say, yes, the Ukrainians advanced, but nothing major. In Zaporozhye and Donetsk regions, at the cost of thousands killed and hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles destroyed. Last week, the Russian military reported that in a month of battle, Ukraine has lost 920 armored vehicles, including 16 Leopard tanks and 18 aircraft. Another major problem is the lack of artillery and air superiority, with Kiev's small arsenal of Soviet-era fighters and helicopters facing up against a superior force of Russian Sukhoi fighter jets and Ka-52 Alligator gunships. So, Leopard 2s, alright. Kiev has been loath to use its NATO-provided Leopard 2 tanks with the 68-ton behemoth, I don't know what it is, apparently getting stuck, probably the whatever weight, getting stuck in minefields in the first phase of the offensive in early June, and Leopard 2s not, and quote-unquote, seen on the battlefield since then. Western military analysts suggest Kiev may be saving them for using breakthrough amid probing for weak spots in Russian positions, but the task is said to be complicated significantly by the region's mostly flat, open fields which offer scant protection or places to hide. Now, grunts offered candid appraisals of Ukrainian forces' horrific losses, with soldiers from the southern front, presumably in Zaporozhye, saying they could lose dozens of men in a single assault. And I'm quoting, "We had to evacuate the evacuation team," a 19-year-old combat medic said, recalling an instance where a mortar... Okay, so we don't have the proper air defense systems to deal with the threat, a platoon commander from the 108th Brigade said of Russian air superiority, and I'm quoting again, "When we're warned that an enemy plane has taken off, the only way to deal with it is to take cover," he says. Well, I don't know if that's really like that or not. This is what they report here. So they try probably to start developing their, according to this, plans to ramp up domestic tank production. So, amid the shortage of armor, Kiev has announced plans to ramp up the production of tanks and armored vehicles. However, Ukrainian arms industry chief Tralala told US media that this would take 3 to 6 months to accomplish. Well, it also brings into question why Kiev has devoted so much of its NATO-provided artillery, HIMARS rockets and Storm Shadow cruise missiles to terror-bomb Donbas cities and civilian infrastructure, instead of stockpiling them for use for its now stalled counter-offensive. I think we could agree that the offensive doesn't go the way it was expected and hailed as going to be like a... The other thing is the Leopard 2 tanks were not seen on the battlefield since they got stuck with the 16 blown up in the first phase or the first few days of the offensive. So again, planning, tanks not good, both, neither. As of now, the fact is, according to these guys, the Leopard 2s are not used anymore. And I expect the Abrams not to be sent as well. Yesterday I covered an article talking about the Challenger 2 tanks, the British tanks, the same. They supposedly want them to be used not in risky operations and somewhere behind the front, stored far away from being hit by the Russian missiles, long-range missiles. I mean, isn't that the purpose of a weapon, to be used? You don't say, well, we're not going to use the automatic weapons here because it's too risky. That's the whole purpose of having a weapon, to use it. You lose, you win, but that's the support. No, we're not going to use this one. And if they're so good, you want to use them because they will help you win. You're not going to say, well, they're the best, but don't use them. Just keep them over there. Just lose and be blown up with the ones built in 50s and 60s. That's dangerous, my friends, and it's criminal. When they say, well, just remember, Leopard 1 tank was, I think, was designed in 59 or something like that. And it came into production in 63, 64. So remember, when you hear Leopard 1 tank, that's an old, it's almost Second World War kind of tank. And you send them to fight the Russians. Now, 2023. You may say, which is true, well, I mean, they were refurbished, you know, they were updated, upgraded, and so on. It is true. It is true. But still, it's like having, I don't know, on the chassis of a 1970 Cadillac, you refurbish it and you make it for 2023. It's still a bar. The whole thing is Cadillac 1970, that technology of 1970. So anyway, my friends, it's a fight. Also, it's a fight also of a commercial, you know, advertising. Our weapons versus their weapons. The Americans said, and well, obviously the Ukrainians, that no HIMARS was blown up yet. I find that almost zero true. Why? That would say, oh, they're so invincible and the other guys are such losers. I don't believe that. But I don't believe they were all blown up, but I think there were a few, or some, to put it this way, blown up. Patriot, again, was blown up or hit. They both confirmed after the videos, you know, surfaced from the bloggers that right now face, 5 years in prison in Ukraine. Why? Because you can't see the reality from a different angle. You just have to hear it from the Ukrainian army telling you, no HIMARS was destroyed, no Patriot was destroyed. And you see the videos, bam, bam, oh, we're going to arrest you for showing the positions and helping the Russians. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.